let's start with the papers, yeah? So
Absolutely.
I have ChannelOneNews.com. The one is the digit one. Some of the stories you'll find: Ablekuma North constituents divided over solution to parliamentary election stalemate. Other stories you'll find: Kenatifwa requests withdrawal of alleged letter revoking his appointment. Privatizing ECG is the best way forward, Kodria Foucault says so. Ministerial nominees: Parliament reschedules vetting dates to January 20. Mahama renews curfew hours in Boko. Yao Graham: privatizing ECG will only benefit politicians, not Ghana. Other stories: Fire Service allays fears of fire outbreak near Akosombo Dam. Joseph Boahin Edu resigns as COCOBOD CEO. Collapsed Sirigu Zoko Bridge. Residents call for intervention over halt in business. TikTok goes offline in the U.S. hours before ban due to come in. Asiedu Nketia's son appointed acting deputy CEO of MIIF. NDC vets Northern Region MMDCE applicants today. Ejumako residents support Atufosin's call to scrap e-levy betting tax.
And of citynewsroom.com, no fire incident near Akosombo Dam. That's coming in from the Ghana National Fire Service. Also here, Ghana on high alert over rising respiratory infections in China. Ashanti region, devastating fires displaces residents in Nima, Muki, or Muk, I believe. EC accuses NDC regional organizer of leading Ablekuma North coalition chaos. Ablekuma North in the news again. EC demands arrest of NDC supporters for vandalism. To some more stories, Cowbank PLC appoints Johnson Oware as deputy MD. And some international related news. IMF warns Trump's plans could backfire on the US. And these are some of the big stories I have here on the citynewsroom.com.
So I have graphic.com. Some of the stories you'll find: forest fire ravages Afajato. President Mahama appoints Victoria Hardcastle as acting CEO of Petroleum Commission. See the list of confirmed acting CEOs, MDs appointed by President Mahama so far. Professor Nanama Brown Kluche grateful following appointment as acting CEO of EPA. Dr. Kweku Asiedu Nketia's son, appointed acting deputy CEO. Why are you laughing?
Why do they always have to add the fact that he's Asiedu Nketia's son?
I mean, they did the same thing to the MPP, so I don't see why not.
The MPP, which of the MPP appointees' son was?
It wasn't a son, but it was, what was it? I've forgotten.
Yeah, you can't even recall. So the point is that...
it's been 8 years.
To be fair, Osafo Mafo's son was Snate's boss, right?
Thank you. Yeah, but we said Osafo Mafo. Did we not? Osafo Mafo's son appointed Snate's boss. So what's the difference? Asiedu Nketia's son appointed boss of MIIF.
But, so he's a PhD holder, I believe, right? Is he not qualified?
No one's saying he's not qualified.
But the fact that
he's Asiedu Nketia's son.
So, because I'm not even trying to, I'm just only, because when these conversations come up, people are quick to point to, family and friends, nepotism, all of those things, right?
I mean,
but sometimes
we've done it before. We've done it after successive governments,
and it goes both ways, right?
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Because, for some of them, they are actually deserving. On their own merits, they could, make a case for why they are deserving of whichever appointment. So, for example, take Professor, the children of the vice president, right? I'm looking through their profiles for all 3 of them.
Yeah, PhD holders.
Quite, accomplished academia people for their age. So, it's interesting if somebody like that gets, but also because we've not really fine-tuned, and also the understanding of conflict of interest in this country hasn't really been,
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think a lot of people still don't know where to draw the line in terms of the understanding of it.
Ghanaians will always talk, regardless. So, I mean, he's Asiedu Nketia's son, so what? If he has the qualifications, he's Osafo Mafo's son, so what?
We'll see the results.
Right, they will write the person's father's name. Thank you. As for the father's name, they will write. Now you can't stop us.
So it's also because people feel that then they become unfairly judged. See,
well,
we were in school with a famous footballer's son. And each time we went to the field to go and play, everybody would keep pointing out to the fact that,
was he as talented as his dad?
That is the question. Meanwhile, you'll be okay, you'll be passable good or fairly good. But the weight of expectation,
is right here.
But you'll probably be even better than the average player on the field that day, right? But because he was a former footballer's son, he's judged differently.
Well,
make a cry, his father make cry, now shut down, anyway.
Should I bring that story, or do you want to do the GNA?
No,
yeah,
so let me just do the GNA. Let me bring headlines
do the
on
GNA and then we'll do that story.
76th New Year school calls for election of MMDC East. Police arrest 3 people in connection with alleged smuggling of cocoa beans. Also here, WAPCO postpones offshore pipeline cleaning schedule. GCB Bank to construct pediatric unit at the University of Ghana Hospital. To some more stories, okay, little old Joseph Boahin Edu resigns as CEO of Cocoa Board. And these are sort of stories on the Ghana News Agency.org. Finally, AMA introduces easy rate payment system via short codes. All right.
Okay. Have you already done City Newsroom?
Yes, I did City Newsroom much earlier.
Okay. So let's do the Asiedu Nketia story.
Maybe we should just look at all the appointments so far. I saw a list of the...
Yeah.
So
the list of confirmed acting CEOs and MDs appointed by President. But let me bring you Asiedu Nketia's son first on ChannelOne.
Just briefly, there are some more stories on citynewsroom.com. Let me just run through the headlines quickly. Residents fleeing Kwanta conflict as military and police patrol streets. TikTok goes offline in the U.S. hours before ban due to come in. It's a major talking point in the U.S. The Supreme Court's decision to go ahead with a ban on TikTok. Also here, withdraw alleged letter revoking my appointment. Ken Atifa to government. Festus Abuaji denies criticizing Mohammed's national security appointments. You already mentioned Professor Nana Makluche's appointment as acting CEO of EPA, and Yaira Koku also appointed acting NIA CEO. I'm a practicing Muslim, but I qualify to lead the NLA. Abdul Salam to religious critics. And finally here, mismanagement of economy part of ECG woes, and that's coming in from Yao Graham. So we can do the appointments now, right?
All right, so ChannelOneNews.com, President John Dramani Mahama has appointed Dr. Kweku Asiedu Nketia as the acting Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Minerals Income Investment Fund. This appointment was confirmed in a press release issued by the Presidency on Friday, January 17. Dr. Asiedu Nketia is the son of Mr. Johnson Asiedu Nketia, the National Chairman of the ruling National Democratic Congress. Dr. Asiedu Nketia brings a strong academic background and extensive expertise to his new role. He recently earned a doctorate in philosophy in management sciences, specializing in business management from the Central University of Technology in Bloemfontein, South Africa. The MIIF, a government agency tasked with maximizing the value of Ghana's mineral wealth, plays a critical role in ensuring the country's natural resources translate into sustainable economic benefits for all citizens. As acting Deputy CEO, Dr. Asiedu Nketia will assist in advancing MIIF's mission to effectively manage mineral royalties and investments, ensuring long-term value creation from Ghana's mineral resources. His appointment is in line with President Mahama's vision of fostering resource-based economic growth through capable leadership to manage Ghana's valuable assets. And let's read the confirmed list of acting CEO and MD appointments. Wisdom Yaira Kokudeku, he's National Identification Authority. Godwin Eduji Tamaklo Esquire, National Petroleum Authority. Honorable Edward Bauer, Ghana National Petroleum Corporation. Professor Nana Amakluche, Environmental Protection Agency. Victoria M.F. Hardcastle Esquire, Petroleum Commission. Afechi Amuno, Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company. Sami Jemfi Esquire, Precious Minerals Marketing Company. Justina Nelson, Minerals Income Investment Fund. Mohammed Abdul Salam, National Lottery Authority. Dr. Kweku Asiedu Nketia, Deputy CEO, Minerals Income Investment Fund.
And a lot more will have to be made. Over
Don't
130.
worry.
Oh, you'll be fine. So
There's more to come.
It's interesting you read the story about, Dr. Asiedu Nketia, right? And my earlier concern was that for a lot of us, really, as Ghanaians, given everything, we struggle to fully understand what constitutes conflict of interest, whether real or perceived, right? And this is someone whose dad, long-serving minister, long-serving MP, rose to become longest-serving general secretary of any major political party in the country's history. I think he still serves on the parliamentary board, right?
Yeah.
And by virtue of the fact that he's chairman of the NDC, he sits in cabinet meetings. And now I think his other son is in parliament, and now this also has been appointed. So if you're foot soldier, grassroots, you're also wondering what next for me, because maybe you were the one who's been doing all the dirty work and everything. But the point is that what are these people also bringing on the table, right? So it's maybe we should speak to ethics people, academia professionals, to try and get their sense of what really is best practice in all of this. Will you say because the son is, because he's related to the father, automatically he's out? In the US, when Trump was president, there were serious concerns about the role of his in-laws in government, who were holding cabinet positions.
Yeah.
It's quite a dicey area. Even Bill Clinton, when he was president of the United States, in his book, for the very first time in probably the longest or in recent history at the time, Hillary Clinton, who was the spouse of Bill Clinton, was working in the West Wing, and it was unheard of for a first lady, because they would be seen to be doing other issues while, but of course, on her own merits, a lawyer with all the wealth of experience. She was in the West Wing, which is like a central part of, where all the major decisions are taken in the Oval Office. So I feel like whether conflict of interest is real, actually happening, or is perceived, we still struggle to grasp it. Maybe on the show later on, we should try and speak to ethics professionals, on what their thinking is around how to navigate some of these things. We will say the president's son. There's this particular African country. The president appointed his son as vice president, appointed his nephew as finance minister.
African country, of course.
Probably Equatorial Guinea or something.
I think I've heard that story.
His son is the vice president.
Yeah.
His in-law somewhere is
it's a family and
finance minister.
Please.
So I think it's better here. But of course, you get people still.
Yeah, there'll be some murmurs.
Yeah. So for example, the
the
past government, right? The president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, look at his cousin, a returnee, came back, wealth of experience within the finance space, investments banker, Yale trained, Apparently, I read his book on 30 years of data bank. Could you believe he was in school with Obama around the same time?
Oh, nice.
So I think Obama was a year ahead of him. But they were, of course, they wouldn't know each other. They wouldn't know, he wouldn't know Obama would become Obama later. But he was just making reference to the fact that at the time he was in school. I forgot, I think, not Yale, but the other university he went to. Obama was there at the time. Then he comes back to Ghana after years of working. Will you say because he's the president's cousin, he's not qualified to be finance minister?
Like I said, if you're qualified,
does that constitute family and friends? So what is actually family and friends?
You're qualified. And despite the fact that, it's probably just, you know how Ghanaians are. We'll talk about anything and everything. So I honestly don't see anything wrong with it.
There should also be clear lines,
Unless you don't want us to. So if you have the qualification, because your father is Muhammad, we shouldn't give you the
that's the thing.
position?
So would you say because all of the president's kids are qualified, they are going to put them in?
Well, not necessarily.
Exactly the point.
But if you have a position and you are deserving of it, I don't see why not.
Yeah, so my point is, assuming all of the president's kids, and I don't even want to make hypothetical statements here, but we know what we are talking about, right? The president's brother. Already conversations are rife on social media about the president's use of his private jet. And we are being told by this acting spokesperson to the presidency that it's at no cost to the taxpayer. Now, my question is, does it constitute a conflict of interest? Do we know what else this rich brother business friend is giving to the president for free? At what cost or later cost to the state? And my view is that all of these constitute to conflict of interest. but we've not really clearly drawn the lines,
right?
So as to say this is what we are willing to accept and this is what we feel like is a red line we can't cross. So I think we should speak to an ethics professor, personnel, to know the best practice, around some of these things. Because trust me, there's so much room for abuse if we don't clearly lay out what the best practice or appropriate behavior is in some of these conversations.
Right. Do you have another story open, or should I read the Ablikuma North story?
Yeah, you can bring us the Ablikuma North story.
Constituents divided over solution to parliamentary election stalemate. A bit of the story reads, constituents of Ablikuma North, and this is on ChannelOneNews.com, have expressed concerns about the unresolved parliamentary election results impasse between the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party. Unlike other constituencies that now have representation, Ablikuma North remains without a member of parliament. The contest is between the NDC's Erabna Obin and the NPP's Nketia Friye. The Electoral Commission has scheduled a collation exercise on Friday, January 17, at its regional office in Accra. However, the process was disrupted by a violent attack allegedly perpetrated by individuals said to be sympathizers of the NDC. Speaking with Channel One News, constituents shared their frustrations over the lingering controversies surrounding the collation of results.
Edo, let me bring you this story in Nkwanta. Residents flee Nkwanta conflict as military and police patrol streets. This story is on the citynewsroom.com. Approximately 200 people have fled from Nkwanta to Pampawie, Ahamanso, and other destinations in the Kajebi district following renewed conflict in Nkwanta, the capital of the Nkwanta South Municipal Assembly. Kajebi, which borders the Nkwanta municipality, has become a safe haven for displaced residents seeking refuge from violence. Speaking to the Ghana News Agency, Madam Agnes Ifua Obo, a linguist and opinion leader at Pampawie, said our kinsmen who are distressed due to the situation have reached out for support to return home. We've transferred money to some to facilitate their movement, with many arriving late on Friday. So yeah, that's the story. Yesterday I brought how some ritual rites have led to clashes in the area. And now we are reading on citynewsroom.com that some residents are fleeing, after police and military have began to patrol the streets. Also, we heard from the acting spokesperson to the president, who mentioned that the police have been, informed of the situation, but now we understand military is also involved. We hope that calm heads will prevail, and we trust in the capability of our servicemen and women to bring sanity.
Speaking about conflict areas, Mahama renews curfew hours in Boko. President John Dramani Mahama, and this is on ChannelOneNews.com, has renewed the curfew imposed on the Boko municipality and its surrounding areas in the Upper East region through an executive instrument. The revised curfew hours, now set from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., will take effect on Monday, January 13, 2025, replacing the previous dawn to dusk restriction. The government has also enforced a total ban on the possession of arms, ammunition, and offensive weapons within the municipality and its environs. The Ministry of Interior, in a statement, warned that individuals caught with such items would be arrested and prosecuted. In light of the ongoing challenges, the government has called on chiefs, elders, opinion leaders, youth, and residents to exercise restraint. It further urged the people of Boko to adopt non-violent approaches to foster peace in the area. To address the rising tensions in Boko and Walewale, President Mahama is scheduled to meet the Asantehene Otumfuo Seitutu on Sunday, January 19, which is today. Today is actually Akwesi Day in Kumasi. So
is it a big one?
Yes, Akwesi Day.
So
is
we should see them with their kente and all of those things.
All dolled up in their finest, in the finest kente you can imagine. Everybody wanting to go and pay homage to the king. Was it
the same events that we saw, members of parliament together with the vice president at the time, all clad in their kente in a bus? It was the same Akwesi Day?
Yes, it was the same Akwesi Day. That's where you go and talk to Otumfuo and
So with this
show
government,
face.
are they going to also do some, or it is?
Well, Mahama is scheduled to be there, so I'm sure some of the ministers would go with
but
him.
we added some, color to the thing.
The event.
Yeah, like, take
the
nothing away
event
from
is already
him.
colorful, so
Yeah, but
I mean,
like
him going was just,
the
an
vice
added-
president, there.
added something.
And I think at that time, I think it was 2 years ago, right? Because conversations around who was going to lead the NPP, then he
some
storms
people feel like
Akweside.
if you go to Akweside, then Otumfuo, gives you like some stamp up. But it's not so. You're just going to greet Nana,
whatever it
pay
is,
homage to Nana, say hello. This is my intended activities, blah blah blah, etc etc. So he's going to see Otumfuo on the Boko and probably other tensions to see how he can
and he's
help.
using the occasion of Akweside to do that. I mean, that sounds amazing. My point about the vice president, though, was that, we're used to him in the smoke or the batakari, as other people call it.
But him and Kente was different, like Tutu Ntoma.
The other times we see him in traditional attire, apparel, was like when he was wearing a kaftan.
Right.
Then this time around, we're seeing him with like the finest of the finest.
Of course.
Like it's
only the best.
bare-chested, or covered. With his.
I was going to say bare-chested. Well, I didn't see that.
Like, a lot of
but I get
wear,
it. Utu Ntoma, like one side, your shoulders.
People wear the kente with like a shirt.
Those are mostly the fancies do that.
Fancies do that. They always do that. For the vice president, Charlie, put the shirt, wear the thing, and then the people were following him. YouTube, Napo, everybody clamoring to be around him at the time.
One day.
I need
to take you to Akweside one day.
You should. The number of things are promising me.
After party, no.
No.
Akweside after party, no. It resembles your eyes.
But it's same for all of the festivals, really. Because like the Abuatre, for example.
Yeah.
The thing they do and go and catch it's just for the show. The real Solokuno.
It's after.
Oh, I'm telling you. Anyway, let me just bring this story because it's very important. It's been in the news all week around conversations around privatizing the ECG. On Wednesday, Bernard interviewed, former MP for Bongo and now acting CEO for GNPC, Edward Bauer. He also interviewed Muhammad Dubik, who is the outgone MD for ECG. And a rep from POO, that's the Public Utilities Workers Union, Stanley Nyame, and yesterday on the big issue, Yao Graham was interviewed by Selom Adonu, and he was asked the question on whether or not government should go ahead with the privatization of ECG. And in his response, Yao Graham, as the ChannelOne newsroom, ChannelOneNews.com is reporting, Yao Graham has been saying that privatizing ECG will only benefit politicians and not Ghana, right? And that's an interesting take. So, excerpts of the story read, Dr. Yao Graham, coordinator of the Third World Network Africa, has strongly opposed the privatization of the Electricity Company of Ghana. During the vetting of Energy Minister designate John Jinapor on January 13th, the nominee reaffirmed President John Dramani Mahama's commitment to privatizing power distribution in Ghana, citing the need for improved efficiency in the energy sector. In an interview on ChannelOne TV's The Big Issue with Selom Adonu, Dr. Graham criticized the government that privatization would compel the government to settle its debts for electricity consumed by public entities, describing such comments as sad. He accused politicians of prioritizing their personal interests by signing private contracts for the state that served their parochial benefits rather than the nation's interest. Dr. Graham highlighted past contracts and procurements that disproportionately benefited individuals at the expense of the state. He called for a comprehensive review of ECG's management and systemic challenges, questioning whether privatization should be the solution for underperforming public agencies. Right, and that's a major question we all need to come together and answer. The fact that when a company is not doing well, are we going to privatize it? Are we going to, So, anyway, and this is his quote. He says, given the public's unhappiness with the police and judiciary, should we privatize it? Purpose and function, as well as the factors driving the problems of the organization, need to be taken into account. We have never been convinced about the justification for the ECG privatization. these same politicians and government officials negotiate private contracts which are beneficial to themselves. All the procurement scandals people have spoken about, government people have been quick to make sure that private interests are met. And, you know, that is the point, really. So the question he was asking, you know, almost sarcastically, was that if people are, every time we release Afrobarometer results, reports, look at the level of public dissatisfaction with the police, you know, even the military, they do quite well, but the police, the judiciary. But the point is that when people are not happy with the police and the judiciary, or even the military, should we say that privatization of these key institutions is the way to go? You know, the implications it could have for our democracy. And his point is that when some of these negotiations are being, you know, done or discussed at the initial stages, a lot of the interest really is what the politician seeks to benefit at the end of the day. So I think these are really important questions. You know, on the point of view, Bernard asked Stanley Nyame also why PUU, that's the Public Utilities Workers Union, were against the privatization of ECG. And he was also quite clear, you know, even though he said that they'll release a paper on why they oppose it, he couldn't mention upfront why they oppose it. But we'll see how it goes. Energy Minister Designate has mentioned that a committee will be set up of qualified people within the industry. We'll look at the pros, we'll look at the cons, we'll look at the way forward. But he's quite upbeat about it, right? The minority also have had their say on it. Yesterday on Big Issue, Chinua Focus, Manso Kwanta MP also raised some concerns. So I think the way forward is a proper national dialogue, right, on what we seek to gain and what we seek to lose. Should we go ahead with something like this? But I think that proper stakeholder engagements would have to be had. The president should lead a charge in this. We should really know what his thoughts are. You know, it raises so many questions. And I think Dr. Graham puts it out clearly. And if you missed the Big Issue, you could go to ChannelOne TV's YouTube channel.
And you can
go back and watch the interview and you know, make an informed decision for yourself where you stand on some of these things, because I think they are very important national conversations that ought to be had.
I'm wondering what TikTok influencers in the US are going through, because TikTok goes offline in the US hours before ban due to comment. This is on ChannelOneNews.com. TikTok has gone offline in the U.S. hours before a new law banning the platform was due to come into effect. A message appearing on the app for U.S. users said, a law banning TikTok has been enacted, meaning you can't use TikTok for now. We are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office, it read. It comes after the social media platform warned it would go dark on Sunday unless the outgoing Biden administration gave assurances the ban will not be enforced. President-elect Donald Trump has said he would most likely give TikTok a 90-day reprieve from a ban once he takes office on Monday. Users reported the app had also been removed from both Apple and Google's U.S. app stores, and TikTok.com was not showing videos. The 90-day extension is something that will be most likely done because it's appropriate, Trump told NBC News on Saturday. If I decide to do that, I'll probably announce it on Monday. The White House said that it was up to the incoming administration to take action. We see no reason for TikTok or other companies to take actions in the next few days before the Trump administration takes office on Monday. Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre said in a statement, could TikTok ever be banned in the UK too? The Supreme Court on Friday upheld the law passed in April last year, banning the app in the U.S. unless its China-based parent company, ByteDance, sold the platform by Sunday, which it has not done. TikTok has argued that the law violates free speech protections for its 170 million users in the country. I'm wondering what the influencers are thinking, are going through. That's someone's source of livelihood.
Absolutely.
That's where someone gets their money from. Companies are making huge amounts of money on TikTok, and then they took it off. So I think last night, scrolling through Twitter, Snap, Facebook, you'll see people posting that they can't access, they can't access TikTok. It's gone, and then they'll post that picture where it says, sorry, TikTok isn't available right now. But it's all good.
You know, if you follow the conversation in the US, one of the main reasons why they want to ban they want to ban TikTok is because they've raised,
the parent
some
company.
senators in the U.S. raised concerns around national security. They raised concerns around geopolitical tensions.
Because it's based in China.
They raised concerns around, influence and propaganda.
Yeah.
Also because it's a, Chinese owned and all of that. With the influence and propaganda, their point is that over 170 million U.S. Citizens and residents, people resident in the U.S. use TikTok. That's an incredibly huge number of people, right? And with their concerns, there's so much anti-Western propaganda on TikTok, so much that it compromises national security.
Right.
If you watch some of the documentaries around their war on terrorism, the use of digital platforms has been a key way some of these, terrorists in quotes have been using to propagate their message. They talk about geopolitical tensions also, and how their national security stands compromised. I listened to some of the Senate hearings on whether or not you should go for it, but the Supreme Court was clear. But what happens is that the new, the Biden administration stayed off a decision to allow for a 90 days sort of reprieve. Now, we've had assurances from the Trump administration that they are willing to listen to, TikTok for a 90-day space where either they sell off some of their, I think shares to a U.S. company, or find a way to get them, back again. But the opposers of this whole conversation is that, there's X, which does as much influence and propaganda, in the U.S., except that because it's right-wing leaning, then everybody seems to be okay. And mind you, Republicans have control of the Senate, right? And we're also getting a Republican president. So Bernard has been saying something, and it makes so much sense. He says in the past, a lot of the major companies were like companies in, steel, manufacturing, hardcore. But now it's who has the most information, right? If you look at top 10 richest companies in the world, it's mostly cloud companies, social media companies, digital, companies, and TikTok. Top of my head, I can't phantom, the information overload within that space, and also because it's very popular among young people. Yeah, I'm on TikTok.
If they ban TikTok in Ghana, you'll be fine. You're not usually on. You like X more.
To be fair, when what happened at the Supreme Court the other time happened, I was apparently a TikTok sensation, and the videos were
say it.
It was big on TikTok. It was big on Twitter. But on TikTok it was even worse.
It was massive.
So
say
it. And it's young people specific.
Yeah.
Except that we have some aunties and uncles who want to do some things, so they are there. But the point is that it creates it's a source of livelihood for a lot of people. Yeah. If you listen to some young business owners in the US,
they're making a lot of money.
They tell you that they use it as a means of putting out their work and stuff like that.
Engaging with their
influencer culture now is a big thing. So we'll see how it goes. For me, it is those Ghanaians who've left here and gone to the US who've been taking pictures of snow. I feel
my
for
first
them.
Snow day.
Then especially those who enter the US military. Charlie, every small thing on TikTok and they'll put some Ghana gospel music under. Charlie, if they ban the app, Charlie, our friends will be in trouble.
They can use X and Facebook.
But
fine.
If such a decision was taken in Ghana, I know people who have like serious hypertension. Like people will be deadly.
Because TikTok is not there.
I'm telling you, people will not be themselves again.
I think I remember when we didn't have internet for a couple of hours. It was crazy. It was crazy, but we all survived. But yeah, so that's our news review segment for you. You can go to any of the websites and read other stories from ChannelOneNews.com or from citynewsroom.com or the other websites that we mentioned